I'd like to welcome our viewers. I'm pleased to be able to introduce Paul Ingram, and Paul is the owner of DNS Systems. For some time now, Paul has been my go-to guy when it comes to structured cabling questions, and we're going to talk a little bit about that now. Paul, most everyone knows that a home has a main electrical panel. However, nowadays in many newer homes, there's a totally different panel box that's filled with wires that serve an entirely different purpose. And we're going to talk about this important development and what it means to consumers.
Mm-hmm. So take the floor.
Take it away.
I think the most important thing that I try to articulate to people in houses that we're working in is how important it is to make room in the house for technology, and particularly the wiring for technology. When you mentioned like the comparison between the electrical panel and these newer type of cabinets that we're seeing in-house now,
yes.
I think what basically has evolved in the industry is that there's so much variation in media that people are using in their houses, whether it be new technology from the phone or cable utility with the advent of fiber optic from Bell Alliant, or the new Mocha system that you're seeing from Eastlink. The demand within the home for multiple internet connections has increased dramatically, even over the last few years. Mm-hmm. Just not all that long ago, when we used to do what's called walkthroughs with customers, where we meet them at a new job site and go through the house and try to find out what they wanted in there, we would have to ask the question, are you going to have a computer? Or if you are you going to have high speed or dial-up internet? That's long gone. We're asking people now how many computers that you're going to have. Most people today, with the advent of like smartphones, are looking for some kind of connectivity within the home for those devices.
Yes.
A lot of the appliances that they're buying in the way of electronic appliances, whether it be home theater amplifiers, standard stereo amplifiers, Blu-ray players, televisions, a lot of these devices now are coming with internet connections on them, because they're not only have the ability of doing updates via the internet, but also they're able to access content from the internet, such as things like Netflix,
the new movie provider for some people.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
Netflix.
take a look at what's happened around Halifax City even here. How many video stores have we seen closed down in the last year or two? And
that's right.
A big part of that is because of the advent of Netflix and the
Yes.
fact that you can rent your movies right offline now.
Exactly, and it's convenient, obviously, and,
yes.
and maybe more cost effective even in some cases.
Absolutely, and to kind of bring that around to what you were saying concerning these cabinets, which we sometimes refer to as a hub. Mm-hmm. Picture it the same way as in your electrical system, where a modern home, as opposed to one 50 years ago, has many electrical circuits in the home that has to have some sort of a distribution panel which controls all these individual branch circuits. Same type of thing is happening with the communication, where at one time people would just run standard phone wire and standard cable TV wire back to the electrical panel in the house.
That's right.
And it was very simple. You hooked up all your phones together, and
because there wasn't much there.
There really wasn't. No, exactly. There really wasn't. But what's happened is with the demand from consumers for multiple internet connections and so on and so forth, there's been the addition of like routers, Ethernet switches, and
mm-hmm.
and different media devices that people want to hook up to their home.
And a lot of people are familiar with wireless routers, and
yes, they are.
In particular, maybe.
Yes, they are. And the thing is that what was occurring is what we call the rat nest effect, where you have all these wires going back to the one central location, like your electrical panel, and there really is no room to put all of this hardware there. So basically what's happened is all of this wiring now would go back to a central hub, and it actually fits under the category that has been in commercial applications for years, that's known as structured wiring. Mm-hmm. And it's picture it as a highway system of wiring that goes throughout the home, and on this wiring system all of your data, no matter what it's from, no matter what that data is from, because it's all data, whether mm-hmm. it's coming from your television or your computer or whatever device it is.
That's right.
It's traveling on this highway system of wires throughout your home. And nowadays it's become even more important to have it wired properly because people have become very energy conscious, and we're seeing more R2000 homes now than we've ever seen. And back in the day, you know, if a customer bought a home and 2 or 3 years down the road decided that they wanted to cut some holes in walls and fish wires, it was no big deal. But nowadays, people make quite an investment in like an R2000 home, and it's not practical to cut into like an outside wall.
That's right, to compromise the integrity of the...
You ruin your rating. So
Exactly.
sure.
So we have to think about that. So in terms of the different wires that are actually in the box, in the structured cabling box, there's more than just data and phone.
Yeah, the type of systems that we typically put together, your 3 main categories that would be wired into those into the hub.
Yes.
Would be not just your data, or what some people would just term as their internet connections, but also your telephone connections would go into that location, and your TV would go into that location. And the reason that this is done, as you know, some people may say, well, why would you put your television connections all in there, is because with each new device that seems to be coming out nowadays, what we're seeing is the demand for interoperability between different systems. Like, for example, if you look at some products that are on the market now, like there's applications that people are downloading to their phone that are allowing them to have control and use their phone like a remote for their television. Yes. And so having these different wiring systems in proximity to each other, so that the technician or whoever is working in the home, or depending on the skill level of the person who owns the home and wants to tinker a bit, it gives them the ability of having everything from a multimedia point of view right there together in one location.
Centralized, yeah.
Everything's centralized, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I know it's, you know, what's always interested me is how quickly this has evolved. And I know a lot of people are interested in their televisions, and their flat screen televisions, of course, nowadays dominate the marketplace. But it was only a couple of years ago that we started wiring for a component setup where someone might have a single flat screen TV. But nowadays we're planning for more than that. It's very customary now, I suppose, to have HDMI perhaps in place. But if it's not there, I think you're doing something else to create an additional flexibility to change wires going forward.
Yeah,
you call it the pipe or the conduit or something.
That's right.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so basically, I've always felt a little sorry for the layperson who's trying to keep up with all this stuff, because the technology is advancing so fast that even when you're doing it for a living, it's difficult to stay on top of the changes.
Yes.
For an example, I mean, it wasn't all that long ago that when you moved into a home, you were using a standard solid-state TV, which would connect directly into your cable television wire, and the cable company was the cable company, and the phone company was the phone company. And now we have so much crossover between the two.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, speaking directly to what you were saying about what we sometimes offer customers when we put piping into the wall, is because we have found that the technology itself changes so rapidly. Like if you take, for example, just a few years ago, we went from standard cable hookups to what was called S-video. When we went from S-video, there was composite video, there was component video, which were all different means of delivering the video signal and or the audio signal to the TV. Yes. With the advent of Blu-ray, just a few years ago, we remember the days of VCRs with Betamax and VHS, and we remember how the two of them, you go down to your video store, and if you had a VHS, you went over and rented from the VHS system, or you went over and rented from the Beta.
If you had a Beta, yeah.
Absolutely, and as we know, at the end of it, VHS won out. Same thing kind of happened here, because it wasn't just a few years ago that you had an option to buy a Blu-ray player or HD DVD, high definition DVD. But Blu-ray seemed to be more endorsed by Hollywood, partly I think because it was a digital format. It probably had something to do with the anti-piracy things that were going on, because it was, I think it was a little bit more difficult to try to pirate.
To copy.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and that's what they
discs.
were concerned about. So,
Yeah.
so what happened was, if you'd go into a store and you would see this TV that was being promoted as having a resolution of 1080p, meaning progressive scan.
Right.
Maybe that's something else we can talk about at some point, the difference between progressive
Between the
scan
two,
and
and
interlaced and
yes.
that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
the only thing you're going to be playing a Blu-ray on for the most part when it comes to cable is an HDMI cable, which is a high definition media interface cable.
Right.
Even with HDMI over the last few years, we've seen the rating of those cables change, whether it went from 1.2 to 1.3, and sometimes these changes were occurring because of, again, new technology coming out. Like the latest craze has been 3D TV. And of course, some of the original HDMI cables that came out, although they were capable of playing Blu-ray movies, they were not capable of carrying a 3D signal. And so what happens is, again, you build your home, you put a wire in the wall, and you hook it to your TV, and then you discover a year down the road that you're going to need an upgraded cable.
Exactly.
So therefore, by having the pipe in the wall, it does give you the option at a future time to pull that wire back out of the wall and replace it with something a little more current.
A little more current.
Yeah.
Exactly, and things are changing so fast, it's probably one of the most convenient factors that we've built into.
Yeah, I would say one of the highest demand things we're requested now is for wall-mounted TVs, because if you think about the fact that you're going to be hard-pressed to go into any store and find a solid-state TV. They're all pretty much flat panel now.
I think so, yeah.
Plasma, LED, whatever they are. It's and people like the idea of freeing up floor space or what have you, and having that TV mounted right.
Having it mounted in a convenient location.
Exactly, over a fireplace.
So we do our best to anticipate that location if it's,
we try.
If it's a new construction home as best we can. Anyway, I think that's good for now, Paul. I'd like to thank you for coming in to have a chat with us.
No problem.
And I'd just like to tell our viewers that Paul can be reached at area code 902-818-6458, and it's Paul Ingram, and he's with DNS Systems Limited. I'd like to thank you very much for watching our video. Bye for now.